All right, strap yourselves in, folks, because today we are diving deep into some pretty out there stuff. We're talking UFOs, government secrets, maybe even some whistleblowers. We're going to be digging into this YouTube video we found. It's got Dr. Stephen Greer, you know, that UFO guy?
Yeah, pretty big name in the UFO world.
Yeah, so he was on this comedy podcast, actually, with Dana Carvey and David Spade. Can you believe that?
I mean, talk about an unexpected platform.
Right, you wouldn't exactly expect
Yeah.
serious UFO talk on a comedy show, right?
Yeah, but
But the stuff Dr. Greer is saying is, well, it's not exactly funny. He's talking about a whole rogue military operation with super advanced technology
yeah.
and possibly even covering up alien contact, like, for decades.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big claim, right? A whole hidden world like that.
Right. And he lays it all out there, doesn't hold back at all. So what we want to do today is really, like, break down Dr. Greer's claims, see what the most interesting bits are, and, you know, let you decide what to make of it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Maybe a good place to start is with all this drone stuff. Those drone sightings we've been seeing all over the world.
Oh, yeah, that's been all over the news. Good point.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on with that, right?
Yeah, and Dr. Greer has some thoughts on that, let me tell you. He doesn't think those drones are just random sightings. He thinks it's like a whole campaign, you know? Almost like psychological warfare.
Whoa, hold on. So he's saying it's deliberate.
He said, yeah, orchestrated by this rogue military group he keeps talking about.
Wow. Okay, so like someone is trying to scare us, but why?
Well, he uses this interesting analogy to try and explain what he thinks is happening.
Okay, I'm listening.
He compares it to, you know, the Wizard of Oz, like the man behind the curtain.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Creating this big, scary illusion.
So like somebody's pulling the strings using these drones.
Exactly. He even says this whole drone thing is just like a prelude to something much bigger, though he doesn't really say what that is. But then, this is where it gets really interesting. He claims he's in contact with someone who can actually explain all of this.
Wait, like a source?
Yeah, like a whistleblower from inside this supposed rogue organization.
Okay, whoa, now this is getting good. What kind of information does this person have?
Well, apparently, first-hand knowledge about crashed alien spacecraft.
What?
Advanced technologies we can't even imagine, and a whole lot of illegal activities.
Oh, man.
And get this, he says this whistleblower is actually willing to come forward publicly.
Seriously?
Yeah, even though it puts them and their family in a ton of danger.
Wow, I mean, if this is all true, this is huge.
Yeah, Dr. Greer seems to think so. He even suggests this could be the biggest disclosure event in human history.
Oh, wow.
And he says it could happen as early as January 2025.
Well, that's not too far off. Okay, so just to recap, we have this potential drone panic, maybe a distraction, a whistleblower about to spill the beans. But who are these people? This rogue organization. Is there any evidence they even exist?
Yeah, good question. It's not really clear. He's a bit vague on the details, you know, who they are, how they operate, but he does describe them as like a shadow government, basically, operating in secret for over 75 years.
75 years.
Yeah, supposedly taking trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And recruiting all the top scientists and engineers to work on this alien technology.
Reverse engineering it, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
And what about those advanced technologies? He keeps mentioning that. What are we talking about here?
Well, he throws out some pretty wild stuff like anti-gravity propulsion, teleportation, even weapons that make nukes look like firecrackers.
Hold on. Teleportation.
Really?
That's what he says.
I mean, that seems pretty far-fetched, even for alien tech.
I know, right? It's a lot to take in. And if they have all this amazing tech, why bother with the drones at all? What's the end goal here?
Well, the podcast hosts actually asked him that, like point blank, what are these guys' motives? And his answer is, well, it's kind of creepy. He describes them as sociopaths and psychopaths.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and he says they could be driven by, you know, greed, power, or even something worse.
Uh-oh. That's not very reassuring. Makes you wonder, if all this is true, are we even safe?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And we'll dig into that more in the next part of our deep dive. Yeah, so it's like we have this shadowy group maybe with crazy powerful tech, and they're out there somewhere.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling when you think about it.
It really makes you wonder, like, where do we fit into all of this?
Right. I mean, it's easy to feel kind of helpless.
Holding.
But, in the middle of all this talk about weapons and potentially bad intentions, Dr. Greer does say something interesting. He mentions that the safest place isn't actually a physical location, but rather being with good people.
Hmm. That's an interesting thought. What do you think he means by that?
Well, I guess on one level it's about the importance of human connection,
Yeah.
right? Especially when we're dealing with fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it also kind of makes you wonder, like, how do we even define good in all of this? With the truth being so hard to figure out.
Yeah, especially when Dr. Greer is saying there are these sociopaths and psychopaths running this rogue group, and then you have the whistleblowers who he describes as like patriotic and brave.
Right, so it's almost like this battle between good and evil playing out.
And he even says these whistleblowers reached out to him because they're worried about the threat this technology poses, not just to us, but to other alien civilizations
Oh,
too.
wow. So he's bringing other extraterrestrial beings into this.
Yeah, like there's a whole intergalactic community out there,
Yeah.
and they're concerned about what's happening on Earth.
That's a lot to take in. But okay, if this tech is so dangerous, how did these guys even get a hold of it in the first place?
Well, Dr. Greer's theory is they've been reverse engineering crashed alien spacecraft for decades apparently. And he uses this crazy analogy to explain the tech gap between us and them. He says it's like the difference between communicating with smoke signals and using an iPhone.
Whoa, okay, so basically we're dealing with something we can barely even comprehend.
Right. And he says if this tech includes things like weather manipulation or the ability to like cause earthquakes, that's a pretty scary thought.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if someone could control natural disasters.
I know, right?
That's a lot of power.
And he claims to have evidence of this stuff. He talks about specific instances of downed alien craft. He even says he has footage of an underground base where some of this activity is happening.
Wait, so he's not just like speculating, he claims to have like actual proof.
Yeah, he seems pretty confident about it. He even tells people to go to his website, where he says he's compiled all these documents and eyewitness testimonies, even forensic illustrations. He wants people to see the evidence for themselves.
Huh. I mean, it's definitely a way to get people's attention. But it also makes you wonder, if he has all this evidence, why hasn't he gone to, like, the authorities or the media?
Well, his argument would probably be that there's a massive cover-up going on to keep this information under wraps and discredit anyone who tries to speak out.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah, and he even says that all these drone sightings and unexplained phenomena, it's all part of a bigger psychological operation to destabilize the public and make us easier to control.
Okay, that's pretty freaky.
I know, it is. And he draws parallels to things like 9/11, the COVID pandemic, like events that were used to push certain agendas.
So he's saying, like, the more scared and divided we are, the easier it is to manipulate us.
That's his theory.
Okay, so if he's known about all of this for so long, what has he done about it?
Well, he says he's been briefing government officials, even incoming presidential administrations, for years, trying to get them to take action. But he's also worried about the secrecy and the danger involved. He talks about death threats, attempts on his life, even the murders of some of his colleagues.
Whoa, hold on. That's intense. So it's like there are people out there trying to silence anyone who gets too close to this secret.
That's what he seems to be saying.
But then why does he keep talking? I mean, if it's that dangerous, why not just stay quiet?
He seems to believe that the truth is just too important, that he has to speak out, even if it puts him at risk.
Wow, that's pretty brave.
He even claims he was offered like $2 billion to basically shut up and join this rogue organization.
$2 billion.
That's what he said.
I mean, that's insane. It really shows you the kind of power and resources these guys might have.
Yeah, and he says they use all sorts of tactics to maintain their secrecy, like planting fake evidence, spreading disinformation, even staging fake alien abductions.
Whoa, so they're messing with our heads.
That's the idea.
That's pretty creepy.
It is.
And okay, but what about Elon Musk? He's been pretty vocal about space and aliens. Does Dr. Greer say anything about him?
He does mention him, but it's kind of vague. He doesn't seem sure what Musk knows or how involved he might be. He acknowledges Musk's interest in space exploration and the fact that he's, not afraid to speak his mind, but he doesn't make any specific accusations or anything.
Okay, so it's unclear where Musk fits into all of this.
Right, but it's interesting that he came up.
It is. So we're back to the question of motives then. If Dr. Greer is right, what are these guys ultimately trying to do?
Yeah, it's the big mystery, isn't it? Dr. Greer says they could be driven by greed, power, Or something even more sinister.
And that